Episode 60. Let's do this. Welcome to the Hack Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Barnes, providing right now solutions to some of your biggest teaching and learning problems. Now, let's hack learning. Today we are hacking a topic that we've talked about before and we'll talk about again, and that is traditional homework. And we're doing it by way of talking about the 20.2-pound backpack. You may have read that in the title of this episode. And let me give you a little bit of background on this. So homework, now that we're back to school, is such a hot button issue. It's a topic that is always present in education. It's in blogs, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook, it's all over the place. And we never, it seems, start a school year without this subject coming up, especially if kids are going to new schools or they're going to new grades and they're getting new teachers with different policies and expectations and different instruction models. And what we find is that often many of our teachers, as wonderful as they may be overall, are entrenched in this traditional model where they pile on the homework. And it's the traditional homework. It's the rote memory stuff. It's the workbooks. It's the textbooks and the questions at the end of the chapter. It's the treasure hunt we send kids on with the textbook, where we ask them to go through the chapter and to highlight something important, or to underline, or to take a note on it in an old spiral notebook, the old pencil and paper stuff. And what it does, and I found this out recently, is it fills up the backpacks. So my daughter, who's in 7th grade, she's 12. She recently had a doctor's appointment, so I picked her up. And as the situation turned out, I was dropping her off, and my wife was taking her, and we were sort of going our separate ways. So I take her, and we're swapping her out of cars, and I'm giving my daughter off to my wife, who's going to go to this appointment with her. And my daughter says, "Daddy, will you take my backpack in when you get home?" And she had left it in the car. So I get home, and I'm getting out of the vehicle, and I grab her backpack, and I tell you, I almost wrench my back. You know, you get to be my age, backs can be an issue anyways. But anyways, that's a story for another day. But I almost wrenched my back because of this incredibly bulky and heavy backpack. So I'm walking into the house, and I'm nearly slumped over carrying this thing. And I'm thinking, my goodness, how does my 12-year-old daughter, who walks home from a bus stop, and it's not far, it's down the block, so 200 or 300 paces, but still I'm thinking, how can she do it? Because I'm walking from my garage into my house, and it's maybe 20 paces, and I'm breaking my arms here. So I walk in and I'm curious about it. So I go downstairs to where our scale is, and I put this on a scale. You can see a picture of this on the show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com, episode 60. And I go down and I put this behemoth of a backpack on the scale, and I weigh it. 20.2 pounds. Now, if you're thinking, maybe that's heavy, but it doesn't sound like a huge amount of weight, I would challenge you, first of all, find anything that, whether it's 20 pounds or not, maybe it's 10 pounds even, that's this bulky, a watermelon, something heavy in your house. Put it over your head and walk 20 or 30 steps and just see what this does for you, or set it down and bend over and pick it up. Lift with your legs now. We don't want anybody, pulling any muscles in their back. We don't want to put anyone in traction because of the Hack Learning Podcast. And I don't want to get any doctor bills. Don't send those my way. But what we want to do is pick something up and see, and then imagine a child, a middle schooler, and really it doesn't matter, anyone, even a high schooler. But we're doing this to elementary kids too. And we're putting 20 pounds of material in this bag, and we're asking them to walk around with it. So my curiosity continued. So I wanted to see what's in here. Now, I'm not invading my daughter's privacy. She doesn't mind. She said, yeah, you can see what's in there. It's all just school stuff. So, I open the bag and I'm pulling out a workbook. And this thing probably weighs a pound in and of itself. A vocabulary workbook. Here's the definitions. Here's some sentences, and you got to fill in the blanks. It doesn't teach anything about words. But anyways, there's that. There's a bigger book. There's a whole set of workbooks coming in. It's all this. Let's show a little lesson in class, and you go home and you practice it. The same problem 20 or 30 times over in this workbook, and then in addition to this, there's this trapper. Well, we called them trappers in my day. I don't even know if they call them that anymore. But it's this zip-up thing, and it's filled with the spiral notebooks and the filler paper and all kinds of things that I don't see much value in. I mean, what do we need paper for nowadays anyways? So, and speaking of needing paper, you'll love this one. So now my children's school, which is a nice place, and the teachers are wonderful. They care about the kids. The administrators are great. They respond anytime I email them. They're wonderful people. But I think just sort of some of them are entrenched still again in this old traditional way. But what they've done, which I love, now here's a progressive piece. What they've done is they've now gotten the junior high kids Chromebooks. Every kid in the junior high gets a Chromebook, and they can bring it home. And they can do their work at home, and they can take it back to school and use it in school. We're in the digital world, right? We're mobile, and we've had some mobile learning podcasts here. You can find those at hacklearningpodcast.com. So, anyways, the point is, now we've taken this great progressive step, and we have given the kids Chromebooks where they can live in the digital world. And now these things have their own sort of case with them, and it's got an over-the-shoulder bag, or strap. So you could carry this. Now, couldn't you, even in a world of traditional homework, if you're still going to assign a lot of that rote memory stuff, you could still do it on this Chromebook. They're using Google Classroom and all that. Couldn't they just carry that? Now, this would lighten the load by probably 18 pounds, maybe more. And I would imagine everything you're going to ask the kids to do, you could do it on the Chromebook, right? The workbooks are digital now. You could say, go to the workbook and, in the digital format. Again, not that that's a good practice, but the key here is it would certainly take some pressure off of the kids' backs. And I think that's the first thing we have to do is lighten the load. So, and I want to talk about, convert this into the solutions part of the Hack Learning podcast because, sometimes it just sounds like venting. I love that I can come to you and I can vent a little bit. And I did this on Facebook, by the way. The picture you'll see on the show notes, I shared it on Facebook, and I told this story a little bit there. And boy, the comments come flooding in, And people are like, mostly parents, and they're saying, I don't like this. Yeah, you're right. We have to change. And some teachers are weighing in, and they're going, I don't do this anymore, and I like to give my kids time to read, and I'm not hammering them with this old school homework. It doesn't help. So the conversation is moving forward. And the goal here is to continue to move that conversation and to supply some solutions, make some change to say we can do this if we take these steps. So I want to do that in a minute, but before I do, I just want to say that this episode 60 of the Hack Learning podcast is brought to you by Hack Learning Webinars. And, we give away so much at Hack Learning. And we've got Hack Learning books, and they're great, but we like to give away a ton of value as well. Because you're our stakeholders, and we love our stakeholders, and we want to make them better. That's goal number one. So in the Hack Learning webinars, what we're doing is we're rolling something out each month, and it's free content. And it's a video. Sometimes it's a conversation with one of our authors or another expert in education, and we're having these sorts of chats, like we're doing on this podcast. Now we're talking about being better. So what I want you to do is check out our most recent webinar. And you can do that at our resources page, hacklearning.org/resources. And anytime we have a new webinar, we'll put it there. Plus, if you go to the Hack Learning Facebook page, at the top, it'll say, check out our latest webinar, and there's a little arrow, and you can just click in. These are free. Okay, keep that in mind. They're free. And, if you've signed up for a webinar ever, and you think, oh, I'm going to get, onto another email list, because we email people occasionally. And if you're on that list, you can attest to the fact that it's occasional, and it's always value. So you don't have to worry. You're not duplicated to a bunch of lists. You have to sign up just to get into the webinar. You get a link to it, and that's it. But our most recent webinar, we're talking about master teacher habits. And you could also find it at masterteacherhabits.com. It's free. Check it out. It's under 20 minutes, and it's really a great step to making you the best that you can be as a teacher and a learner, whether you're in the classroom or not. So check that out today, masterteacherhabits.com. So now let's go to this section of the Hack Learning Podcast where we actually provide some solutions. Right now stuff. Do it tomorrow. Be better, make yourself better, make kids better, be a better teacher, leader, parent. So here we go. We're talking about the backpack, the 20-pound behemoth, and what's inside of it, which is homework. Now, I gave you a little preview before we talked about the webinars, and I said one of the things we have to do, if we're in the digital world, let's lighten the load. Instead of piling on the workbooks, the spiral-bound notebooks, and the everything else, the textbooks, the heavy stuff, let's just let the students take the digital work, the hardware, because these Chromebooks that my kids have, they're lightweight. So let's use the lightweight stuff. Here's another hack, and this comes from Hacking Homework by Star Sackstein and Connie Hamilton. This book's coming out in September, and it's truly a game changer. And this book is about inspiring independent learning outside of the classroom. And we just love the ideas in here. And in Hack 1, here's a preview, right? Preview alert. In Hack 1, our authors say to stop assigning nightly homework. The everyday stuff can just go. It's not necessary. If we engage kids in some ongoing projects, independent reading, give them some choice. And Gerard Dawson, another Hack Learning author, talks a lot about this in Hacking Literacy, which just came out this summer. And you can find that at hackingliteracy.com. But he talks a lot about giving kids choice. Put books in their hands or let them choose their own. If you have a library, say go pick one. Or say, what do you have at home that you want to read? The idea is pick up a book and read it. And then let's engage in the classroom. Let's talk about what you've done. And if you're not a language arts or reading teacher, let kids read other things. Let them explore your subject. So let's lighten the load. Let's go digital. Let's allow kids to explore. If you want to, instead of the traditional nightly homework that you're going to grade, and that's ultimately going to hurt the kids if they don't do it, give them some choice. Hey, we learned something new today in math class. How could you explore that outside of our classroom? Go check it out. Go do some searches. Talk to your friends. Hey, you like to be on social media? Go on there and ask your friends something about what you've learned in class today. Say, what do you know about this? We learned this, and I don't know that much about it. How cool would it be if your students are engaging in a place they're already going to go and they're talking about your schoolwork, and they'll do it if you encourage that kind of exploration. Another thing I'd say is let's de-emphasize the grades. Whenever something goes home, let's not hammer kids with a grade. And that way we don't have to worry about the punishment. If it's not done, then first of all, it probably wasn't a good assignment. It wasn't something engaging. That's the key here. That's what Star Sackstein and Connie Hamilton talk about in Hacking Homework is if we shift the entire narrative and we give kids things they love, they'll do it. But if they're not doing it, let's not say, I'm going to keep you in for recess. Kids need exercise. Let them go. Let them go have fun. Because when you do stuff like that, it makes school not fun. There's nothing we hate more than hearing our kids say, I hate school. I hate this class. I hate this teacher. We don't want that. So lighten the load. The 20 20.2-pound backpack has to go. Let's make it a thing of the past. Let's go digital. Give kids an opportunity to use technology. Let them read. Let them talk about it. Let them choose what they're doing, and they'll learn outside of class. And they'll like you. They'll like your classroom. They'll love school. And most important, they will love learning. Hey, I hope you'll stay tuned to the Hack Learning podcast. And one way to do it, and to do it so easily, you don't need any kind of podcast or MP3 program. What you can do is download the app, and you can do that at hacklearningapp.com. Put it right on your phone. Every time there's a new episode, it'll be right there for you. Listen to it on your walk. Listen to it on the treadmill. Hey, get on the treadmill. Be healthy. Listen to it in the car. We're dropping value on you all of the time. Stay tuned. Please hack the homework. Lighten the load. Let's make our kids healthy, and let's make learning fun. As always, we continue the conversation at #HackLearning on Twitter and on the show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.